Good evening, directors and aspiring directors. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the interview series of Mentor My Board Boardroom Talks. Today we have Mr. Jayesh Parekh, Director of Sunidhi Securities and Finance Limited, a company which is in existence for more than 60 years with a vision to empower stakeholders to create, protect, and enhance their wealth using their experience, knowledge, expertise, and cutting edge technology. So, if you want to know what one factor investors look at when they invest in you, if you want to know challenges of family managed boards and why you must get groomed for the board positions, then you must hear him today. First, I would request you to introduce yourself, and after that, I would introduce little brief about Mentor My Board, and then we can start the conversation.
Okay. So, 59 years old, born and brought up in Bombay, and did my schooling from Jamnabai Nursing School. Then I did my college also from Narsimhanji. Then I did my MMS, Master of Management Studies from Bombay University.
Wow.
That also at NMIMS. And we still have, and at that point of time, also a family business. So my father, my two uncles, and then succession, we are three. I'm there and my two cousins are there. And then our sons have joined the business.
So let me tell you brief background about Mentor My Board, sir. Mentor My Board is a platform where corporate directors come together to learn, to network, to sharpen their boardroom skills and get board opportunities of serving on the companies to act as directors, women directors, independent directors, and also to get mentored by expert mentors on the areas of business, governance, finance, marketing, and strategy. We are on a mission to transform Indian corporate directors and boardrooms and create a community of 1 lakh directors by 2027. So over to you, sir.
So once Bharti told me of what we are doing, very frankly, I joined business in 84, and it's family run business, still family run business. So what you are doing now is you are training the directors.
Yes, sir.
But I think the first thing what you should do is to inculcate the importance of having a proper board. What is the advantages for having a proper board? It is a structured discussion. I think all the family business run business, including mine, even if they grow, they just manage it as a family business. And the board meeting is just a formality because everything, you discuss every day. So there is no structured board meeting. But after the JLT board, where I personally felt that this structured meeting and independent directors and some outside participants will give you a lot of responsibility, and then you start thinking that this process helps so much in getting discipline in the organization. So I was playing two roles. One was I was a director in JLT, which was absolutely professional, and one was my company where we are a lot of investment company where the board meeting is just the formality. After having joined JLT board, it's still very difficult for me to put that practice in my company because 30 years old practice, no one wants to change. So the first thing, and even when you are saying listed companies, only top 20, 30, 40 company, only top out of 6,000 listed company, only 40, 50 years of professional board, professional processes, systems of holding a board meeting, signing minutes. Below that, it's all run by family. Even the directors are some relatives of the promoters. The independent directors also are, as you said, it is all, whatever is compliance is for law, not the spirit. So I think the education for the SMEs or family-run organization of what advantage a formal board process, board meeting can get in the company is very important.
Absolutely.
Secondly, what I observe from all this listed companies or wherever my friends are on board, the directors, whether they are actual directors or independent directors, they don't have any knowledge to contribute anything.
Correct.
In the like company like JLT, even we used to get our agenda on the last day. The agenda was 150 pages. because I was involved and it was professionally run company, I used to go through all that. But I know most of the independent directors or most of the nominee directors from London, I don't know whether they ever read the agenda. There were only key points they read it. So what I feel is what I'm very skeptical about the role what independent directors play or are capable of playing unless they are equipped, as you said. And if they are not equipped, I don't think so. They would be able to help any one bit in the board process.
Correct.
And for that, independent director, whether it's a woman or a man, they both are same. But they have to be qualified. They have to know little about the industry to contribute something. So, or they should have someone advisor for an independent only as an independent for independent directors who reports, the advisor reports to them only, or what are the compliance required, what is the filing required, what are the laws, what are the laws which the company needs to adhere to. Because even if you do a master class for 3 days, I don't know how much you will remember after 1 week. So
Absolutely.
whether it's more of a networking event,
continuous upgradation of skills is very much required.
And very frankly, if you ask an independent director who comes 4 times, 5 times, you pay him 1 lakh rupees. I don't think so. Continuous upgradation is also more in law or not in spirit. So you need to have someone who are advisors only to the independent directors on the board. Because most of the time I feel asking the right question is more important than getting answer.
Absolutely.
And if you don't ask the right question, the professionals would not give you any answer. And for asking the right question, you need to have someone who is advisor to me. I personally, I didn't know anything about compliance because my compliance was done by my 2 people, trusted people, 20, 30 years. So whenever they used to get a paper, I used to sign. But for JLT, I used to take their help. So what I did was, in JLT, I had one director, which was my nominee director, who is a professional, like Virendra Parekh, Bharti knows. So he would guide me, and ultimately I'll go by his decision. So otherwise, I don't think so. I'm very skeptic of role played by independent directors.
It's a very valid point you have said here, is that independent director should have an advisor for himself, or the company can hire an advisor for that independent director.
No, not company. Company can hire, because what happens is then there is a conflict of interest.
Okay.
So I don't know.
No, but in the law, sir, in the law there is a provision which is mentioned that if independent director needs any help, professional advice, the company can bear that expense. So company can help the director to get the professional advice.
So that is most important.
Given in the law.
So who pays for it, I don't know. But unless any of the directors, family or the professional always have a vested interest.
Correct.
But the other directors who has no financial interest in the company except for the director's fee, I think they are miserably under-equipped to contribute anything.
Absolutely, well said, sir. Under-equipped is a very, very, right word what you're saying. And probably that's the reason, if you see last 2 years, so many independent directors have resigned from the positions in listed entities. Because the responsibility posed on them is too high and there is no transparency from the company side. So they're screwed up. So, and that's where, the challenges, if you see in the listed space or even unlisted companies, this is a major challenge recently which I have been observing.
Going forward, sir, because we would like to know, going forward, what in your opinion a company like Mentor My Board can do positively for independent directors, women directors, even non-executive directors?
No, I don't make any difference between women director and men, because if they are qualified,
exactly,
why you should make a difference between women director and men? Anyone, if you are qualified, so why there is a special importance? I mean, let's say, even if there is no law requiring a woman director, if she is capable, she will be part of the board.
Absolutely well said, sir.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying is because SEBI had insisted certain timelines for fulfilling the board vacancy requirement for women directors. So most companies were scrambling at the last minute to get family members as women directors. Most mid-sized to small-sized companies. What is Divya's endeavor is that even in a family-run company where you are a woman director, or you are a family, like for example, your son or your relative is put on the board, make up the numbers. What, in your opinion, would Mentor My Board help with regard to this? Things like, it's a patriarchal run in a family-run company. So you want to actually make a point which may not necessarily be, from the patriarch point of view, वो सहमत नहीं रहेंगे. Boardroom, how does she groom a director to speak up without?
No, I think you're jumping the gun. I think before training a director, whether it's woman or male, it doesn't make a difference. I think the first thing for even a company like Suniti, what Mentor My Board can do something is educate the companies and the family, the owners, to change the system how they work.
Excellent.
Because even if you train a director, if the family doesn't change the system, then you might qualify a director, but still it will be a rubber stamp board meeting. There will be no systems, processes, agendas, discussion. So the first, I think, and I'm telling you, if you leave aside the top 50, 60 companies,
Right.
Educate the owners of how this board meeting and conducting board meeting in a true sense will help them.
Sir, absolutely well said.
Then the training of directors will come afterwards.
Correct. So what you are saying is changing the mindset of the promoters towards looking at the independent directors is what is the need of the day.
Yes, changing the mindset of promoters.
Absolutely.
Because if you change the mindset of promoters, then they will do a formal board meeting. They will get an independent director who are not rubber stamped. And they will try to get some professional who can contribute to the whole process. Okay. So changing the mindset, I think, is the most difficult, because you can have how many trained directors?
So any suggestions how we can, go about changing the mindset that corporate and corporate governance can be furthered by having structured board meetings, to have a different type of process in the coming times? Because family-run board meetings were, like, as you said, no, it's a very informal.
Not family-run. I'm saying leave aside the top 50, 100 companies.
Correct.
Out of, I don't know how many companies are registered. 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs. If you leave aside
11 lakhs, yeah.
If you leave aside the top 30, 40 companies, if you leave aside companies which are not large, but they have a private equity investors, if you leave aside those two, I think all are run as a family-run board meeting. There is no formal process. So I don't know how would.
So we would want to invite your suggestions, one or two ideas how we can change that mindset. So Mentor My Board can effectively contribute to doing what you said.
They can enlist they can have some course on the importance of board, or it's made mandatory for them to take at least a master class.
Okay.
For all the companies which are less than, let's say, 200 crores turnover, or less than 5 crores capital or something, just take a master class and run that here. But so changing the mindset of.
Absolutely. Government has already initiated this, thought process, and from December 2019, they have started the mandatory certification by a person to be qualified as independent director. So government has started all that. IICA is the initiative.
So
that is only for the independent directors currently. That's not for the non-professional boards.
So when is that? Let's say we had an independent director, Mr. Mittal. He didn't have that qualification. So let's say because of his qualification, he should have taken that course because of this rule.
Sir, if the person had the experience of being an independent director for 10 or more years, then he is exempted. Okay. So if the person didn't have so if the person didn't have the experience of less than 10, he has the experience less than 10 years as independent director, then any further position he has to complete that within a period of 6 months.
Yeah, so what has happened is, because now in last 2 years, after the government has gone so hard on the independent directors
Exactly.
who were earlier not capable of monitoring or understanding what is happening. What has happened is it has driven away all the qualified independent directors. They don't want to take it. They are happy in their own space.
Agreed.
And they would not become a director for 1-2 lakh rupees fee. So what has happened is, because of strictness of the government and independent directors, all the good independent directors who had the capability to contribute, they have run away, and more rubber stamp independent directors have come.
Oh.
So I think the second thing is, if you are in touch with ROC, there has to be some law of limitation for legal recourse on independent directors. Otherwise, you are scaring away good people, and they will not join the board. Because how do you expect an independent director who comes 4 times to 6 times a year to be liable for any fraud or any violation of law by the company?
Correct.
In fact, the person responsible who is running day-to-day affairs, like we had in a board meeting, I don't know whether other companies follow. We had every board meeting, our CEO used to give us a certificate that all compliance has been adhered to. Sanjay used to give us.
Correct.
I don't know whether that is there in all the other. So at least that has given us some shield to the other directors.
Correct.
Very well point said, sir. That the boards should take a certificate from the management that everything is complied with, and based on that certification, they should sign the board report and the financials.
Is it by law? Is it by law?
No, it's not by law. The ultimate responsibility lies with the directors. But again, to back up that responsibility or the backup that the directors have to take something from the management, because directors are not involved into the day-to-day affairs, and they should not.
So what happened is, I got that system when we started board meeting.
Very nice.
Yeah, that is your system.
And then the CEO started getting little paranoid of signing that certificate. So what he in turn did, before issuing that certificate, he used to take the certificate from all down the line.
Right.
So in fact, the system became so strong. Let's say Bharti would have to sign something, Aarti would have to sign, CFO would have to sign. So everyone would have to sign. Let's say top 10 people or top 5 people, I don't know, they would have to sign a certificate that they have complied with whatever was required of them. They would give that certificate to the CEO, and then CEO on that basis will sign. So in fact, not even CEO, there were 10 top people signing that certificate.
Correct.
Because we were in a very highly regulated environment.
Yeah.
Other than that, Reserve Bank of India, anti-money laundering. So this was an excellent board practice which actually was instituted by Jayesh sir only. Other than this, some suggestions from you on how important it is for young aspiring directors to be conscious of corporate governance, not just in letter. Like most young directors are very clear of what are the rules, what are the things, but what is the spirit of corporate governance?
No, I don't think the young people. I think when I look at this, there are 2 spectrum of people. One is old people who have, like I have worked for 30 years and certain style. So if you see my conduct in my board meeting, I don't let anyone, it's just overruled everything and then just sign. But the younger generation, they are more receptive. So you should catch them young. Let's say if you try to train us, we are not going to change our mindset at 55, 60 years. So if you take the second generation and inculcate them what is the importance of the board meeting, what is the importance of this process, what is the importance of hiring independent view, I think that would be much easier task than trying to change the owner promoter who has been running the company in the last 25, 30 years. So the target should be younger generation who are just coming out.
So that is her actually basic focus is towards aspiring directors who are now likely to come out of the board. So what would be your suggestion on what they should be conscious of when attending board meetings with regard to corporate governance, with regard to stating their points as independent directors without rubbing the wrong figures? Thoda points bataiye sir.
No, I didn't get you, Bharti. What you are saying?
What are the points which you feel is very important in the spirit of corporate governance, where you want to make a point in a very senior boardroom. आप एक छोटे aspiring director हो जो अभी board में आए हैं.
No, the first thing is whether in the board when you talk about corporate governance, so when you get, and in front of they also have independent directors. So when you get anything in a good way, if you say this corporate government, this is not correct, I think everyone will listen to you, because I think every owner has become paranoid now. And when you said that fish rots from the head, it's not that fish doesn't know that he is rotting it. So the top management does not know usually whether something inappropriate is happening in this company. So if you let's say, because you are qualified, and this is exactly like I see your role as how I was relying on Virendra, because Virendra knows my colleague who I had introduced as a director in JLT. So he used to guide me. So I think if you can create a rapport with a owner, and I'm sure they will listen, because everyone is paranoid about governance. So, and if you start talking about what is not happening properly, and if you gain the confidence, I think there is no one in this today's age who would not listen to anyone who brings to the fore a problem in corporate governance.
Absolutely well said, sir. So, sir, as a family managed boards, what one challenge you faced in terms of board practices, or when you started implementing best board practice, what was one challenge which you observed?
I will not introduce up till now. I'm not able to introduce up till now.
Oh.
So it's a mindset, I'm saying.
It's a mindset.
So even if I don't believe it, that I've run this company for 30 years now. It's a mindset, but my mindset was completely different. Why my mindset is there in my family? Because I trust all the people. Why my mindset was different in JLT? Was they're all new people, and I was afraid of something wrong happening. So that's why that fear made me go minutely each and every point of agenda. That fear made me question each and every compliance. Fear made me check each and every financials. So that was only because of fear, because at that point of time, all people were new, and I had not developed a trust of them.
So, very well said, sir, that trust, if there is a trust amongst the boards, and which is more usually into the family.
So which is a problem. It's not a good thing.
Okay.
Because if you trust, you
but
don't
again,
change your
in such cases, in such situation, is the bifurcation of roles helps better governance in the family managed boards?
No, that's what I'm saying. The family managed companies run as they run since last 30 years. I'm talking of my company. I'm talking of 50 other people who are very successful, very large, but they don't have any formal process. 3 employees are the directors. They are the trusted people. So you will have to change the mindset of the owners. And I think you will not be able to change mindset of us. You will be able to change mindset of the younger generation.
Younger generation. Absolutely well said.
And trust, when you have trust, let's say I have trust. That is a bad thing, because I just rely 100% on them. So we don't have a formal board meeting. It gets over in 2 minutes, just a paper meeting. So it's not a good thing, but it's the way we run. And it's the way where 80-90% of the people of the companies run.
So MSME sector in India contributes almost 95 to 96%.
Correct. And there is no formal process in any.
No formal process.
Yes.
So we have a long way to go and huge work to be done. So absolutely point well taken from you. And one thing I want to ask you, one more thing is, when you invest in a company, do you think that with that investment you should also have a board position to support or to?
No. There's more risk here. Why I should take a risk on something which I'm investing? If I don't like the company, I can sell it.
Okay.
So if I want to become a board member, even in a lot of companies we have 5%, 10% holding, but we stay away from any board seat, because why I should take an additional risk?
Yes. Okay.
And if I don't like something in the company, I can sell it off.
Correct.
But if I'm a board member, then I've become an insider, so I cannot sell it.
Mm.
And even if I sell it, I'm responsible for what has happened when I was as a board member. So for me personally, it's absolutely no.
Okay. Okay. Great point, sir. So tell me, when the venture capital companies, they invest into the companies who either are going to be getting listed. So do they have that perspective, what you are saying, or they
So
compulsorily?
what I deal with a lot of venture capitalists and I invest along with them. I think there is two different processes. When they are investing, they do so much due diligence on the company right from the inception, right from all the formalities, compliance, right from the inception. So I think the amount of due diligence they do, whether there is any labor issue or any compliance issue or ROC issue or pending tax matters, and they ask before investing or before putting the money, they ask the companies to rectify it. Whether the board meetings minutes are ready, but everything is up to date before they invest.
Correct.
After they invest, they nominate 1 or 2 directors.
Okay.
But then the whole thing becomes lax. Because the nominee, the director which they nominate, they are expert in that field.
Okay.
So they are not expert in compliance. They are not expert in, all the requirements as per law which you need to do. So I have seen so many companies that before investing, the venture capitalist does 100% diligence. After investing, that becomes very lax and take up a responsibility of 2 things. One is educating the entrepreneurs who are all fresh from IIT, so they don't know head or tail what is it. So educating the entrepreneurs and continuous monitoring of the compliance part. That can work much better because there is a need for venture capital also to see that the companies are monitored properly.
Perfect.
That's very useful.
Wonderful. So, sir, when you invest in a company, what one thing you look at the company while investing, or what is the basic necessity कि अगर ये चीज है तो ही आप invest करोगे, otherwise you will not invest.
Corporate governance. Corporate governance.
Wow.
Only.
Wonderful.
Only means management quality. Management quality is defined by 2 things. One is how capable they are. But even if they are a lot of capable, if they take shortcuts or if they are not compliant, we don't look at it next stage.
Oh, very nice.
So only compliance. First, number 1, 2, and 3 is compliance. Let's say if you like a sector, and there are 3 companies, but the top company and the best company are little lax on compliance, then we don't mind settling for number 3 company whose management is afraid of violating it. So only corporate governance.
Oh, that's a brilliant answer.
No, I think it's not valid for us now. It's valid for any large investors. Even if you see mutual funds, even if you see large HNIs, even if you see FIs, corporate governance is and corporate governance, when I say corporate governance, because we are in market for 30 years, we know by reputation 70-80% of the company who are reputed or who are not reputed. So we don't need to go to the balance sheet. There is enough experience which the market has. There is enough published materials of where they are to get a feeling of whether they are compliant or whether the intentions are compliant. Maybe their intention is compliant, they have got in a wrong spot, then it's fine.
Right.
But the intention is not there, then it's definitely no. And it's not for me, it's I think any large investor.
Okay.
And how important?
So when just thought process, there's one site or something. One is a venture capitalist, large investors or institutions have their own research team, but I don't think that's capable. You can give them a compliance report for last 5 years.
Right.
You are the company, and you're compliant. Let's say when I want to make a large investment in company XYZ. Now there are 2 ways. I can go for last 5-10 years financials. But there are a lot of sources where it's not mentioned in the balance sheet. But there are a lot of other public data where you can come to know what are the compliance gap in the company. Maybe you can tie up with large mutual funds or HNIs like us to just find out the compliance score of the company.
Okay.
That's actually a very useful suggestion. So even aspiring directors should have their pulse on the neutral grapevine, so that they should be able to be aware that where are they guiding in whatever decisions they are taking. So aspiring directors must have a finger on the pulse of informal grapevine about regarding the corporate governance.
You should ask them. See, you cannot train them. You should ask them only to ask right questions. Because, you know, I don't know what is compliance. I don't know what are the section 238 or section 230. But if I can ask the right question, I think that solves 60-70% of the problem.
60-70% of the problem. Correct. So, sir, in the family managed businesses, family managed boardrooms, have you experienced the generation gap, the thought process of the generation?
Lot. But it is not in family man when we discuss. See, there is no formal board meeting in family run company. But when you discuss with the younger generation, there is so much gap of their thinking and our thinking. There is so much gap in the aspiration. There is so much gap in the direction what they would like to take and what we are taking. So there is a lot of gap, and that can be bridged only if you are a formal process of board meeting. If there is a formal presentation by younger generation, or if there is formal presentation by the older directors also, that why they think is correct. Here it is all informal discussion, and then free phone comes and someone goes away, then again after half an hour, and this is for all the companies. I'm not talking about myself. So there is a lot of gap between what the younger generation wants and what the older generations are doing. But you have to make the process more formal.
Correct. I'll give you an example, sir. We had been guiding to a board of directors, wherein father and son, they both are the board of directors along with other family members. Son is designated as a managing director and father is a chairman of a company. And there were two things. One was there was funds lying in the bank account, for example. By the time son is deciding that I want this money to be utilized for buying a big crane of crores of rupees, the father has already used that money somewhere else, right? And whenever there was instruction going from a managing director to the employees would say, okay, we'll just consult the chairman, sir, and then we'll, come to a conclusion, and then we'll implement that decision. So the managing director, who was a son, who was feeling powerless, that why am I managing director? In spite of that designation, nobody listens to me. And that's where we tried and helping them. And we told them to create a simple board structure in the company. And they started implementing, they started coming on a common table, and they started discussing the matters commonly, right? So two things happened out of it, the two positive things. So the board meeting was taken as a decision-making forum, wherein whether to invest in this project or whether to invest in this project was coming to a common table, and decisions were taken unitedly. And the instructions were going to the management as the instruction of the board, not of the instruction of a MD or a chairman. So this helped management also to understand that there is a top management, which is a board, which is beyond the chairman or a MD. And a lot of challenges were, the Cold War at home also got.
So that is what did I exactly tell you, Apna?
Exactly.
You should inculcate in the company, family, the importance of board meeting. The whole process we set up was not to train the director, was not to give him a master class.
Correct.
What you got it was the importance of board meeting and importance of discussion. Correct. So what you have helped is to change their mindset that there should be a board meeting, there should be a formal process, there should be a formal way of interacting. So you didn't train any director or give him a master class that this should be filled up, this should be compliant, or you should file a return, or you should do a KYC. you change the mindset of the owners that why board meeting is important. So that is what exactly I'm saying. Like we have a younger generation. So luckily they have got a lot of freedom and we discuss a lot of things before taking any decision. So what is exactly happening in their board meeting, it happens in our family with my sons in a very informal manner. So it's not, so the problem in that family, what you are saying, well, there is no communication between father and son.
Correct.
Whether in an informal manner or in a formal manner in board. So what you got is you told them because there was Cold War that why don't you have a board meeting? You change their attitude.
Correct.
So your training of as a director didn't help them. Your training of your making them realize, changing the mindset, that helps them.
Absolutely well taken point, sir. That changing the mindset of the promoters is the crux of changing the culture of Indian corporates today.
See, because a lot of families, there is no Cold War like this. A lot of families are very healthy discussion with the younger generation, what they want to do. So the decisions are by and large unanimous. And in a lot of families I've seen, if the older generation doesn't like the suggestion of the younger generation, they would give a chance to younger generation to go ahead with what they want. Because unless they make a mistake, they would not realize. Or if they succeed, they would give them confidence and maybe you need to take more backseat. So a lot of families have this informal discussion happens. But it happens in dining table, it happens in a car, or it just happens when you're in restaurant. But there's no formal board meeting.
Correct. Absolutely, rightly said. So, what one difference you find in the family boards and the professionally run boards?
Sometimes professional boards, sometimes professional boards are there too much sound, no substance. So the family run business knows to the crux. The owner knows what is exactly happening. But when there are too many professional directors or many independent directors and who are quite senior, I think the whole board discussion goes in a tangent for a matter which is not of at all significance. But then you have to live with that because that's the process which you have opted for. So it has this plus as well as minus. But independent directors, unless they are of a particular knowledgeable field, it's very difficult for them to make any contribution.
Very well said, sir. So, Bharti, if you have any other questions, please go ahead.
I'm just trying to come back to the discussion on professional boards because my whole experience has bin like that from National, Raija and now J. So coming back to that, two other points which we want to make other than corporate governance is importance of human capital and the boards.
Very important. Very important. I think the most difficult part in today's environment is retaining people. I'm not talking about COVID time because good people is very difficult. So HR, which when I did my MBA, MMS in finance, at that point of time I realized that HR and marketing are just for show. Now I realize that you can hire an accountant, you can hire a brilliant person who can take care of your finances, but HR is the most important. How to incentivize.
This was for me the highlight of this interview. This was for me the highlight of the interview, being an HR and into human behavior.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, we have come from scratch 30 years ago. So we had a different mindset. We were like cowboys and we did everything. And HR was, we had, I think, Mr. Milton. But more and more, in the last 10, 15 years, I'm relying that without HR, your company will not grow. Because I'll tell you my example. Let's say We don't have formal, when I'm saying my one, I'm not talking about JLT. I'm talking about Suniti. We don't have formal review process, performance appraisal. When you are giving 8%, we give everyone 8%. When you are giving certain bonus, we give everyone. So I seriously feel, because my employees are all 30 years old and they have nowhere else to go, they are with me. But if a new person joins in my company, I know he has no career. I'm very frank. So we don't recruit anyone because we are not funding in working. But most of the family-run business, one is the board, if they don't have a proper HR systems, processes, evaluation system, I think the person who joined that organization, the employee, will have no career path. So for the employees, it's very important for them to join. First is the company which they are joining, but what are the HR processes? It is very important.
Bharti, you're on mute, Bharti.
I would like a few suggestions from you on what a director, whether he's non-executive or executive, can contribute for guiding the HR, like for ensuring that attrition levels are kept within bounds, making the board and the company aware that if the HR is, the human capital is not there and up to the mark, your strategic plans, all your business plans are anyway going to go for a toss. So what
I think directors, Bharti, directors are not God. So how will they control attrition in the company? They come 5 times a year. And so I think the best way for them to control HR and see best practice, transparent practice are implemented is to give a task to, let's say, to the HR guy who is head of HR. And let's say if the industry attrition rate is 8%. They should be intelligent, and if your attrition rate is 12%, you should be intelligent enough to call the HR guy and take him to task. That what are the things which we are not doing and why the attrition is low. But except monitoring, what will directors do? So as I said, ask the right question. And you should have an industry standard that, let's say, if you are in a software company, what is Infosys attrition? What is the top 5? What is the bottom 5? Where you are? And then call few employees, whether the management will like it or not, and ask them whether what are the practices which they are happy, which they are not happy, in an informal way. If they can have that interaction without the employees being afraid, then have that. But only thing the directors can do is to monitor.
Absolutely right said, sir. So just to sum up the interview series today, I would like to say the one point which I have taken today is ask right questions. That's the important role of a director, asking right questions in the boardroom, whether you know the section of the law, whether you don't know the section of the law. But if you ask right questions, many things can be sorted out.
And when you want to ask the right question, it should not be a superficial question. You should have done your homework, like Bharti knows. I was asking so many questions, but pointed questions. So if you just have a superficial question, they ask you and then you say, okay, it doesn't matter. Then you need to probe little.
Correct. Absolutely.
I agree totally. And my takeaway from this is that when you want to invest or you want to have your skin in the game, your first, second, and third criteria is corporate governance, corporate governance, corporate governance.
Yes, 100% compliance.
Dr. Swati's takeaway she stated, but we would like to.
No, it was an absolute eye-opener. I'll tell you why. The perspectives I heard today were very new to my sensibilities. We have been hearing from, I mean, all of you agree to my term, corporates into boards. So the past experiences that we have been having, whether I interacted or you all interacted, were basically corporates into boards. Now today, when I was hearing, sir, I was hearing about the basics of somebody who can create a board, So there's a vast difference between a person who has joined a board as a director and accumulated, and a person who knows the basic fundamentals of how board works. So it was an amazing takeaway for me as a person. As an HR, why I felt happy is because in today's new normal, we have been talking about HR, its impact, and people. And the whole sense of Mentor My Board is around people. The word mentor is used for people. So the idea of Mentor My Board is people. And when Sir said that, I think it gave confidence to all three of us that Mentor My Board is moving absolutely in the right direction. We have, I think, if Sir can add his viewpoint on it, I think we have entered into a unique proposition at the right time, where human values, human development supersedes everything else. So I'm so thankful to you, sir. You added a lot of confidence to the three of us in this venture of Mentor My Board, where your words gave us the confidence that, okay, fine. Mentor means human capital is important. Thank you so much.
Very, very important. Very important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any closing remarks from you on Mentor My Board, sir? We'd be very happy.
And also the three message or one message for the aspiring and the new directors.
Be prepared when you come to the board meeting. And your agenda should be circulated 3 days ago, not on the morning of the board meeting. So they should insist, and they should not go wear a tie and just go on a board meeting. They should have gone through the agenda. And if they don't understand something, they should go in a board meeting prepared. Because I've seen, not in JLD, but most of the companies, the board comes, they go through the agenda, flip, yes, and no one has, even when I'm talking of the small and medium enterprise and family enterprise, to go to the board meeting prepared. Otherwise, you'll be in trouble.
And some Mentor My Board, sir, closing message.
For Mentor My Board, change your target, add a target audience to change the attitude of the owners. Because you may train directors, you do everything, but unless there is no formal process, the directors we have been trained, but what happens is if you don't implement it, the family, the promoter or the small enterprise, we have to change the attitude of the decision making, that how important it is for holding a proper board meeting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's been really wonderful of you to have spent so much time with us. Do appreciate very much, sir. And I personally hope that our association continues for a long time.
Yes, you know that. You know that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
For sparing time, and it was really wonderful to have these insights from you. Thank you to all the eminent audience who have joined us today on this Boardroom Talk series. Please do like, comment and share the videos so that more and more directors and aspiring directors are benefited with such great insights from various eminent directors who have rich board experience. And if you would like us to invite someone, please do post in the comment below. We will ensure that we have them in coming weeks. Stay tuned and keep watching, keep sharing and keep motivating us. Thank you.